right. All right, we're back. Quick little break there for X-Men Gold number 9. Trevor's going to take over here. This is the IVX section. Let us know what he thinks about the book after a quick summary.
All right, hold on. Let me get my. So I got to switch to tablet mode here.
Yeah, this is the first time I've read this book in about 3 or 4 issues. So
wasn't bad or anything.
I didn't feel like I missed too much, to be honest with you.
No, you didn't. You really didn't. So here we go. X-Men Gold number 9. Written by Mark Guggenheim. Art and cover by Ken Lashley. Colors by Andrew Crossley and Frank Martin. And letters by VC's Corey Pettit. The solicit is Kitty Pryde has sworn off men named Peter. And then that's a bullet point, and then you got another bullet point. But when she and her first love, Peter Colossus Rasputin, are caught in dire straits, will she find herself going back on her word? Blah, blah, soap opera.
Yeah.
God. So.
Yeah, this was the relationship issue for sure.
It was. I mean, they made sure to throw some action in there, but at the same time, like, God save us. And there are other things peppered throughout from last issue. So we start off this issue where we left off with the Russians in the middle of last issue. So it's kind of funny.
Oh, really?
We start off this issue from something that happened in the middle of the last issue when, well, I'll get there. So in the middle of last issue, the one with the Russians guy, one guy is named Anatoly, and he's asking the other guy who seems to be in charge what his plan is and how such a thing is possible to beat death. The man in charge, who we never get a name from him, even though he was in last issue, the beginning of this issue, at the end of this issue, we never know his name. But he says he's disappointed in Anatoly and everybody else, especially with everything that he's shown them with magic and whatnot. And the reason for all this is because in the last issue, the Russians and the Hand made an exchange. The Russians got a coffin with a red Omega symbol on it. I wonder who that is. And the Hand got a bunch of homeless
subtle
people.
Hints.
Yeah. Pretty subtle hints there with that red Omega symbol. And the Hand got a bunch of homeless people. God knows what they wanted with the homeless people, but I did see Daredevil season 2. And remember in the basement
Probably
when
nothing good.
Nothing good. Definitely nothing good. And they're draining all the blood from those people. That was fucked up.
That was gross. I can't do needles. Even on TV, I have to look away from that shit, man. Like, I can't watch that.
I recently rewatched, like, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and season 2 of Daredevil, and Daredevil was the best. And that scene in the basement when they're getting the blood drained out of them, I cringed so bad because they all look weak and frail, and you could see the blood. You could hear it all dripping into this giant vat. And then at the end, when they slit their wrists and drain themselves in the tubs willingly, I was like just cringing to death.
Yeah, I hate that too. It's disgusting.
All right, so we flip the page, and we're back in the U.S. of A. with another Russian, totally separate from the Russians in the beginning of this issue.
I know. I thought that was ironic too. I'm like, wait a minute. I think this dude's Russian too, but he's in America.
So, but this Russian in particular is sitting around and he's bitching about politics and he's bitching about politicians, how they never mean what they say and they're all full of shit and the sanctions they put on his country, you know, that starve people and whatnot. And he's doing this while he's working on his suit that looks somewhat like an Iron Man suit. And
yeah, it's a lot like the Iron Man 2 stuff.
Yeah, he's Whiplash. He's the Mickey Rourke character from Iron Man 2. So he's got that piece.
There's just no parrot here.
Yeah, no parrot, no bird this time. Anton Vanko, the green-haired. He's got green hair. First of all, I don't know where that's coming from. Not a lot of Russians have green hair. I haven't seen it unless they dye it themselves. But it's a weird suit too, because it's not exactly like a full suit. Like, you know, I guess he wears something and then puts the suit over that, like a little thin armor under the armor, because, you know, he's got an arm, 2 arm pieces, one that goes up his right or left arm, but it's not completely covering his body. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
unless he's working on pieces.
Yeah, it's a weirdly positioned armor. It's bare in some spots.
But that's where we get this one page of him working on his armor. We get a little snippet of Congressman Zellman at the bottom right, and I think that's who he's bitching about in particular. But we never really get too much information about what his gripe is other than his inner dialogue from this page alone, and we don't see him again until later down the line in this issue. So we flip the page, and we're at the Xavier Institute, where Kitty walks into Peter's room and comments on how it used to be her room and says how it's a little stalkerish that Peter moved in there. Peter gets a little befuddled, but she calms him down, telling him it's just a joke, and then she invites him to go to DC with her to be his security, and he's like, I can't fully metal out.
When did that happen?
I think it was like 2 issues ago. Like, he could only...
Oh, so it just happened. That's what I missed when I didn't read.
He's been having problems with this for a while. Like, I remember back in Cable and the X-Force by Dennis Hopeless and Salvador LaRocca, he had a problem meddling up then, but he had like a suit that helped him like with his mutation, like fully go metal. But when I tried without it, he would only go half. Like certain parts of his body would be metal, and then the rest of them.
Yeah, like it was never mentioned in Extraordinary, so I assumed it had to be something that just happened. Like
yeah.
And I read the first 5 issues of this, so I didn't. I'm like, well, it had to have happened between 6, 7, and 8, like where they really at least emphasize it's a problem again. Yeah,
it happened somewhere around there. It happened somewhere after the AI thing. I forget exactly because, like well, I don't want to get into that right now. It's just about X-Men Gold as a whole, because it's definitely not the book at the top of my list where I like make sure to remember every single detail, because like a lot of crap goes on in this book this book reminds me of like remember Power Rangers when you were a kid, like a show for a 13-year-old where you come home and it's got like people, it's got the fights, but it's also got the dramas of the teenagers, and it just kind of reminds me of like that, like a TV show like that. But anyway, she invites him to go to be her security. She's like, it's Logan's idea. And
as she's fingering his chest, like, ooh, I love your muscles. Like, that's literally what she says at one point, basically.
She does. And Ken Lashley draws her with these, like, fuck me eyes. Like, oh, like, she puts his hand on his chest, and she looks like she gets all weak in the knees, and then she, like, grabs her hand back real quick, like she's gaining
she's like, no, but it's Logan's idea.
Yeah.
Like, oh, geez. I've met girls like you before. I'm going to put a gun in my mouth.
I know. No, I sent you a panel earlier, and it was from the comic from it was from Uncanny X-Men. I think it was like 180 something or 148 or something from 1984, and it was these two idiots sitting on a hill, basically having the same conversation they're having right here in this issue today. Like,
yeah, very close. Very, and then my response back to you was something along the lines of like, "Oh yeah, 20 years of dating, still very healthy."
I was 33 years. Yeah, 33.
Yeah, like I know comic book time doesn't roll as same time as we live. It's not a year for year type thing, but regardless, that's still been a long time. Because Kitty's got to be in at least her late 20s or early 30s at this point.
Oh yeah, at this point, yeah.
And she was 15, 16 way back then. So
yeah, it's still been going on for a long time. But next page, I guess love is in the air, because we catch up with Nightcrawler and Rachel, Rachel is that Nightcrawler is asking Rachel out on a date, so they can talk about why Kurt felt awkward when she kissed him and what's changed now. She's like giving him the third degree, like, why you want to go on a date now? I could tell you were uncomfortable, blah, blah, blah. Like, does this sound interesting? Like, Kurt goes on about how inter-team relationships are not too uncommon, like Gene and Scott and blah, blah, fucking blah, blah. Like, this, it feels like Days of Our Lives. Like, at this point, I feel like I'm watching a soap opera. Like, it's pretty good, though. On this page, particularly with Nightcrawler and Rachel, Nightcrawler looks great. Not that it really matters, because nothing's really happening. Next page, after them talking about going out to dinner, we're in Washington, D.C., and Peter and Kitty are off the plane. Peter goes looking for a cab. Kitty's like, don't worry about it. The congressman is sending somebody out. And who comes to pick them up? None other than Kitty's best friend Stevie, who I've never seen before in my whole entire life. And I'm sorry.
Who's a congresswoman she had no idea about.
Congresswoman Stevie. I'm sorry, Congresswoman Stevie, who she had no idea was her friend, because I guess it was when Kitty was out in space with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, God knows. I have no clue who this woman is.
Yeah, I had a hard time accepting all that too. I'm like, all right, yeah, you even if it's like your best friend you're out of touch with, like you still at least when you get back from being in outer space. I know this is all very hypothetical, but when you get back from being from outer space, you would at least find out your friend was a senator. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Not necessarily. We're not talking about switching from like one convenience store to another. We're talking about like a position in the government here. So
I don't know who she
it's just
is, or if
weird.
she's been in any notable run, or a friend of Kitty's.
Yeah,
Like
I don't know.
I have no clue. Who cares? Like, and that's 2 pages. You know, they get in the car and they go for a ride and they catch up and they talk about the mutant deportation crap, and like that kind of comes out of nowhere. Like this just popped up at the end of the last issue to give you a little backstory on where we are on the next page after this car ride. At the end of the last issue, Kitty got served with papers with a subpoena to appear in Congress to talk about this new mutant deportation law, because the government deems them like destructible. You know, like they just cause so much destruction.
Yeah, that's the worst part of this comic, the goddamn Senate hearings. But they love subpoenas in this comic, because it was a subpoena like or issue 2
taxes.
when the mutants weren't paying their goddamn taxes or something.
Yeah, taxes. The guy from the mayor's office came to talk about taxes. So now we're at an in-session meeting of Congress, and Kitty is arguing for mutants and how they are Americans, and it is unfair to single out a minority for deportation or special treatment, and that it's downright un-American. Yeah, right. And then the congressman argues that mutants are not humans, and that a human can't level a city with his eyes or a brain. And Kitty comes back with the mutants are the next step in human evolution, and blah blah blah, and the debate ends.
Yeah, it's basically the old debate: are mutants really humans, and how scumbags think they're not humans at all, so they just want to be rid of them. You know what I'm saying?
Which is something they've been touching on since the beginning, but it hasn't really been going the way that I thought it was going to go. I don't know. A lot of people
thought it would be resolved now, but basically because the X-Men are in New York and like helping everyday people like not be killed. But instead, no, they just want to chase them out of the world because they feel like they draw the attention in the situations to them and blah, blah, blah.
They touch on that subject at day 2 of the Congress hearings, but we'll get up to that because now it's date time. So, so next we go from flashes back and forth with Kurt and Rachel and Kitty and Peter while they're all having dinner as couples, but separately. You know, Kurt and Rachel in New York and Kitty and Peter in DC. So we start with Kurt and Rachel, and should we shouldn't, why not? And then Peter and Kitty with the we shouldn't, we can't, but maybe we should get married, blah blah blah. You know, like come on,
they're so both having the same conversation. They even blend together. And literally, they are like speaking for each other, and they're both separate conversations.
They're having the same conversation at different ends of the relationship. Peter and Kitty are having it like beating a dead horse, and Kurt and Rachel are having it at the beginning. I guess they shared a little bit of romance in the Excalibur. No, not them, but she brings up Excalibur. She's like, Brian and Megan were together, and it didn't mess anything up. Blah blah blah. Oh God, I can't.
Yeah,
that's how I wrote it, Joe. I was like. Kurt and Rachel with their should we, shouldn't we, why not? And then I was like Peter and Kitty with we shouldn't, we can't, but maybe we should get married, blah 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 blah. Because like he just springs that on her, like maybe we should get married, and she's like, well, give me time to think about it. Like, wow, that is the worst match.
Do you see Kitty's crazy looking face in that top right panel where and like her hand is phasing through the glass? Is that done on purpose? What the hell is going on down there?
I think that's done on purpose because she's so shocked that instead of grabbing the glass, her hand goes dropping it.
Okay, yeah, she was holding it like in the palm, like that fancy way to hold wine glasses, and then
just
dropping it through her hand. Okay, I get it now. Yeah, I get it.
But the face. What is what that face? It looks like God, it reminds me of a cartoon
It's like an
character from
anime
like
shocked face. You know what I'm saying? When their
yeah.
eyes get real big and like that's what it looks like, an anime shocked face.
I thought it'd be like fought a Family Guy or something in the eyes. Like, oh God. Anyway, so that's like 3 or 4 pages right there. That whole dinner stuff
Yeah,
between
it's
Kurt
awful.
and
I almost fell asleep talking about it, you and me.
oh God, it's just so rough. So after all that soap opera stuff with Kitty, we're back on Capitol Hill, and she's going back and forth with the congressman about mutants and the cost to taxpayers with property damage, and Kitty's saying, they save human lives. Like, how can you argue human lives over money? Like, and we don't get too far into that before Whiplash bursts through the wall and says the congressman doesn't care about human lives, and he's talking about those sanctions against his country. But he's
Yeah,
also
Kitty should
remarking.
have just let Whiplash kill this dude, and then the end result wouldn't it probably end up happening.
Yeah. But oh God, this is the action of the issue. It
Mhm.
lasts for a few pages. They go back and forth. Uh,
She tries
Peter's
to
at a
attack him with a flag.
yeah, Peter's at a disadvantage because he can't metal up, but he still manages to fight, and he gets whiplash and a cross-faced chicken wing, and then Kitty phases a piece of a flagpole through his leg, and then he's out. Like, he's just done. And he knocks over a few people, but it's basically just a fight between the three of them, and that's it. Oh wait, aside from the pull through the leg, fucking Colossus. I don't really want to call him Colossus because he's not Colossus. He's just
Yeah,
Peter,
he's just Peter.
and he just bashes him with an elbow in the back of the neck, and it takes him out. And
Yeah.
that's hilarious. Like, this guy with this like Iron Man suit with this electrified like whiplashes, and I would think he have augmented strength through the suit, but no, he just gets taken right out. Goodbye.
Yeah, well, it's like a weak spot in his armor too. He's got nothing protecting the back of his head and his neck. He's just he takes a blow.
Yeah, because he doesn't even have a helmet
So
on or
he's
anything.
done.
But that's and that kind of concludes the Congress crap for the day. After that, we get a page of Kitty and Pete walking around talking about what happened at dinner, the proposal, non-proposal, and Kitty tells him she needs time. He says he'll wait in the most corny way. Since the first day we met, has there ever been a moment where what you wanted was not right with me? Blah 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 blah. And I swear to
Yeah.
God, like, I remember I was reading Joss Whedon's Astonishing X-Men, and it wasn't heavy like this, but there were moments like, because Colossus was just, they thought he was dead, and then they found him, and they still had these moments of like Peter being like this stalkerish weirdo, like, Kitty, I love you, Kitty. Oh God. But so after that, they head over to Congresswoman Stephanie Hunter, aka Stevie's office, and she informs them that Congressman Zellman is going to get the votes he needs for the mutant deportation law, and it's going to get pushed through. And if it passes in the Senate and the president doesn't veto it, they're screwed. And she's sorry, and that's where we leave off the X-Men, because the next and last page, we're back in Russia with Anatoly and the guy in charge. That's what I'm going to call him, the guy in charge, where they're performing black magic ritual that looks to be successful because they've brought Omega Red back to life. And that's what the next issue is going to be, Omega Red, where they're in Russia, and it's got a
Yeah.
dope cover by Ken Lashley, and the art is going to be done by Lan Medina next issue. So I'm kind of excited for that, but I'm not going to buy
Yeah.
it because this
Well,
is my last issue.
at least the one thing you can count on for these issues, the X-Men Gold issues, is if you just want the Omega Red action, it's probably going to be 2 issues at the most, if it's not only one, and that'll be it for Omega Red. You know what I'm saying? Nobody
Yeah.
hangs around too long in this book, villain wise. So
No, they don't. It's like a couple issues and
yeah, I
then
don't
they're
know.
out.
What'd you think of it? Buy, borrow, or forget it altogether for this bad boy.
Oh boy, Ken Lashley did a pretty good job on art. I like Ken Lashley. The story, like, it's like we were saying earlier, like, it's not that it's bad, it's just that it's like really really average, and there's
Yeah.
just too much soap opera stuff in this episode. It feels like an episode of a TV show. It does not feel like, it's just, I don't know, it's a forget it. Like, I bought it this week because I was giving it one last chance, but this was the last time I buy it. Blue is my X-Men book. This is off my radar after this issue.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed Astonishing the first issue so far, and I've surprisingly liked Blue a lot more than I anticipated. But this, like I said, after the first 5 issues, I was quickly bored and jumping back in for 9 and really kind of giving it a chance again. I don't know, it just didn't grab me, and I wasn't surprised by that at all. It's just you're like you said it best. Like it's the definition of average.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing really great about it that makes you want to come back to it. Like I know a lot of people that I see online really enjoy it, and
Oh yeah.
good for them. But I don't really take anything out of it that I enjoy. That there's been so many villains, and there's no really through line in this book that interests me, because every through line is like a political X-Men not paying their taxes, or the X-Men are getting deported, and it's all political nonsense that I have no interest in entertaining. So I don't know. I thought it really coming into tonight it was a borrow, but I just really lost interest talking about it like halfway through the book again, because I don't want to I didn't want to recap relationship stuff, and it really so similar to the Spider-Man 19 issue, like where just not much happens except for that brief 3 pages of action.
Very similar.
Yeah, like we got some dogs this week, that's for sure.
Crazy. I watched this show on YouTube called Collider Heroes, and this was one of the books that they picked. Every Wednesday they pick 5 books from all the publishers, and this was the one of the books that they picked, X-Men Gold number 9, and they were talking about how Resurrection is a return to form for X-Men, and these are like old school guys who started reading comics in like the 70s, and he was talking about like this takes them back to like the Claremont Dave Cockrum stuff, and no, it doesn't. It really doesn't. Like I like the parallels they were trying to draw and the points that they were making like made absolutely no sense. Like they were talking about, like the way they were talking about Resurrection, they weren't talking about Gold. They were talking about like Astonishing and X-Men Blue and Old Man Logan. Like they were not talking about Gold. Like it just pained me to hear them like blowjob this book so much, when I'm like, did we read the same book? Like,
yeah, I know. So
that happens to me sometimes. There's no space battles. Too. I didn't see the Brood. Like, get the fuck out of here! Crazy.
I know. Yeah, it's just not. It's very, like you said, it's episodic. Like it feels like it's written by a TV writer, so it kind of has that like I need to wrap everything up in 30 minutes type feel to it,
Yeah, that's exactly how it feels. It's exactly how it feels.
Yeah. So yeah, that's our first book section. It was a rough go. I'm not gonna lie to you, we got 2 forgets in there already, but we're gonna skip on to the midpoint marvelous facts here. We're going to cover Amadeus Chow and Omega Red, and we'll be right back with you guys after this PSA. All right, at least we only got to do this and then our end segments, and we're all done, because I can slide Hulk in there.
Hey, would we give that a borrow?
So that was a forget too. I'm trying to remember. I think we both said forget.
I think we did. I think it's all forgets this week.
Yeah, I think it is.
Some good fucking books.
All right, well, let's wrap this up then. Yeah, it's a rough week. What books are we going to do for the end?
Yeah, we should talk about that now.
Did you? Yeah, I'll do the midpoint facts, and you can look up, because you can pick hero book. I couldn't find one that really grabbed me. So,
well, I was thinking we should do.
There's a ton of X-Men books,
because it's the last issue before Legacy, before Mark Waid and Chris Samney take over. There's not going to be any more Steve Rogers. There's not going to be any more Sam Wilson. It's solicited as Captain America 25, and it's the last issue of Captain America.
Okay. We'll do that.
I figured why not do that
for IVX.
I was going to do the new Inhumans Once and Future Kings by Christopher Priest and Phil Noto.
Okay.
I figure his Deathstroke run was so good, and it's a new number 1. It's like a new take on the origin, and Secret Empire number 8 comes out.
The new issue of Deathstroke today. That was pretty sweet. I liked it. Well, let's do this here then.
I wanted to do Secret Warriors.
All right, we are back. This is the midpoint marvelous facts. Hope you enjoyed that PSA. We're going to kick things off here with Amadeus Chow. We have first appearances here. I got a dual first appearance for you because the character of Amadeus Chow first appeared in Amazing Fantasy, Volume 2, number 15. That's in January 2006, created by Greg Pak and Takeshi Mayoaza.
I couldn't pronounce it either. I looked it up too.
I was trying. That's the best I could do there. But then he's also now the Totally Awesome Hulk, and his first appearance as that character was in the Totally Awesome Hulk #1 in February 2016. So that's where you can find first appearances of Amadeus Chow. I'm sure they're not too expensive if you want the hard copies, so you can hunt those down. But I got a couple facts here about our pal Amadeus. Obviously, he's got all the Hulk powers and strengths and weaknesses. So I tried to find just like general stuff about the regular character Amadeus. So first thing I found is performing mental calculations in rapid succession. It costs him immense amounts of energy, which leave him exhausted and famished, requiring him to consume like large amounts of food to make up for energy and stuff lost. So a lot like the Flash when he's got to eat a lot and stuff to keep up his brain in this case, not necessarily his speed and his energy. And then I thought this was another pretty crazy thing. He had a Calvin Klein AI suit with built-in AI that enabled fight strength enhancements and a force field generation. So he had like this fancy dress suit that he used to wear around. Yeah, and it'd help him out. So that's some crazy shit about our pal Amadeus.
I got something funny.
For Amadeus?
Yeah. It's
what do you got?
Everybody arguing over his intelligence, right? So at one point he was considered the 7th smartest person in the Marvel universe, but at that point Hank Pym returned from Skrull captivity, so that made him the 8th smartest person in the Marvel universe, although Bruce Banner claims he is the 10th. But then the leader came out and was the end-all be-all and claimed that he was the 8th smartest person in the Marvel universe.
So he's back to 8 again.
Yeah, he's back to 8.
Okay. So yeah, he's up there in well, at least the top 10, and it's not a bad spot to be in anything, I guess, really.
Yeah.
Who's number 1? Do you remember who number 1
Moon
is?
Girl.
Smartest?
Now it's
really?
Moon Girl. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. All right. So moving on, we got Omega Red. He's our second feature of the night. And our last feature of the night, we got a first appearance of X-Men Volume 2, number 4, January 1992. And then for whatever reason, they had Appearance of Death. But I think Omega Red has died literally like 20 times, hasn't he? Like, doesn't he just keep dying and coming back?
That's a part of his whole shtick is like, you know, he always has to steal people's life force because he's like constantly dying, or because he has like a death factor.
Yep, that's and speaking of death factor, these are some of his what the fuck facts. He has a death factor, which emits lethal pheromones from his body and starts, basically killing you if you're too close to him. Later, these pheromones were only attached to like his tentacle things that come off of him because he's died so many times. It's like mutated his mutation. So I don't really know what the case is with this death factor now. It's just like if you're near him, or if he's touching you, or if these tentacles really possess the power. And maybe we'll find out in the next X-Men Gold. He's retained his powers, one of the few mutants to retain his powers after M-Day. So they were never taken away from him after that, when, that was the no more mutant stuff, right? M-Day?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he kept his powers through all that. And then he deals with this it's not adamantium that he's made out of. I always thought he was when
carbonadium.
Carbonadium, yeah, and it also poisons him, which contributes to him constantly needing to like basically suck on people to get their life force, or I don't really know how all that works, but
Like makes him
the
stronger or
constant
something.
need to repair himself, and like we mentioned earlier, constantly has to just drain people dry, basically,
I have
to keep going.
I got a fact about carbonadium. It is the Russians created it when they were trying to make adamantium.
Yeah, so it's their bastardized version of it. That's
Yeah.
why it poisons people, right?
Yeah. And it's not as strong.
Even though the adamantium is also technically poisoning Wolverine.
Yeah. I always hated that. That was always one of the downsides of
Yeah,
adamantium.
I think that comes and goes, to be honest
It
with you.
does.
I, I think it kind of kicks in when he's like old and weak. That's kind of like a thing they use to take him down. But yeah, this carbonadium is it's basically like radioactive, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't know if it's radioactive. I was
It
reading
says,
about it.
yeah, I know it's not as strong as adamantium, and like that's why when he's defeated Wolverine before, but like Wolverine really cuts him up because
Oh yeah. That
it,
was
it dents it before he eventually breaks through and starts really doing damage.
that was the story from like X-Men #4 in 1992. The first 7 issues were a story about they were trying to, I forget the guy's name exactly. It was someone in relation to Psylocke, like someone who knows Psylocke. They tried to capture Wolverine. It had to do this. This had to do with this whole entire old Weapon X story from when Sabretooth and Wolverine were partners and went on missions together. And
Yeah.
I forget the exact details, but that's where his first appearance came from, and they were like torturing Wolverine, and Omega Red wanted to
Yeah, I used
kill
to have
him.
a few Omega Red issues when I was a kid, but I think they were really kind of like Wolverine solo books that he was in a lot of the time too. So he's a big time Wolverine villain, but
Yeah,
he does fuck with X-Men too.
that's where his
But yeah, we're
origins.
gonna move.
Ooh, Jim Lee and John Byrne created him, I think.
What's that? Yep. We didn't say that. That's what I meant to say. So we got Omega Red covered. We're gonna move on to our final book of the night, Generations Hulk. Number 2. Oh no, wait. I'm sorry. Number 1. There will not be a number 2. I meant to say. So this is just a one shot, and we'll let you know what we thought about the first Generations title that's dropping here. All right, so we'll slide that in here, and we're moving on to sign out. I got most wanted. God damn it. At least this is getting cut out. The most wanted read you've never got to. I couldn't, it's written like that. I don't know why I couldn't read it.
But I want to read the
Yeah, so
most,
most
but I
wanted
haven't
read.
gotten to yet.
Yeah, something like on your list you've been dying to read, but you just haven't read it yet.
All
So
right.
that's what I think we'd signed out with. Here we go. All right. So how about that Generations Hulk? We're here with the sign out segment here, guys. We're gonna wrap things up for you with a basically like just a question we're asking each other, and we're gonna mention maybe one or two things. This is called Most Wanted Read You've Never Got to. So really kind of like a book or something that's super hyped, you've always wanted to read, you've never got around to reading it, and you're very disappointed at yourself for having not done so. And I'll start off with kind of just a TV show I've gotten into lately based on just hearing good things in the past about the story, because I think it started off as a novel and then they published it as a comic, or it's still coming out as a comic, and now it's a TV show. But that's American Gods. So I saw the first couple episodes. Did you watch any of that yet?
I haven't watched any of it yet, but I have the first 5 issues on my tablet. I want to read it,
Yeah.
but I heard the TV show is good.
So I watched the first 2 episodes of the TV show. I really wanted to grab issue 1 when it came out, and it was sold out at the store by the time I got there. And then I'm just like, well, fuck it. I guess I didn't want it that bad because I never traced it down. But then I watched 1 and 2 episodes last night, And now I really am pissed off at myself that I didn't grab the book because I'll probably download it on Comixology or something this weekend because I want to read it while I'm watching the show and kind of follow it along that way. So yeah, that's one of the things that I thought was really good and wanted to read that I never got to. And I, based on the TV show, really want to get into now. So yeah, I'm pissed at myself about that one. But what about you? You got one that comes to mind immediately?
Oh, I just did, and it just fell out of my head. Like when we just like I had it right in my head, and we started talking about something else, and then all of a sudden I started to forget what it was, and I'm like, oh my god! And the more I tried to think about what it was, the further it just fucking got away from me.
Drifting, yeah.
And
Well, I got one more, and that's just like
choices, but
the entire original Scarlet Spider saga in order, which I have downloaded and I've started getting through.
Saga.
Yeah, I'm not finished with yet because it's goddamn like 5 graphic novels, 300 pages each. So that'll be a year-long thing for me probably.
I have so much.
Did you remember or no?
Well, I have so much stuff that I want to get to that I haven't gotten to yet. One is The Boys by Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson.
I heard that was really good.
Yeah, I want to read that so friggin' bad, but I always feel like I just never have the time. And then the other is oh my god, what the fuck? I had it. I really want to finish Why the Last Man. Like I started it and I just haven't had the time to get around to finishing it. And I want to finish it so fucking bad because the first 2 trades were so good that it just drives me nuts.
Well, we're gonna. You got any more in mind, or you remember the one that's really driving you nuts?
I haven't remembered the one that's driving me insane right now, and it was a good one too, and I just cannot fucking think of it. It's driving me up the wall right now.
I'm sure you remember it as soon as we end this. And you can write it down somewhere, and we'll bring it up next week because I know there's one person out there with an OCD tick like me that really wants to know that answer, and they're like, God damn it, he's not going to say it. So
I have it too. Like it's a trade that's in my trade collection. Like I have like a series of volumes.
Look at every book you own tonight till you find it, and you're like, there it is.
That's what's gonna happen.
So yeah, we're gonna wrap things up here for you guys. Kind of a shorter episode based on what we've been doing lately. This was our first unanimous forget all 3 books on the lineup. So yeah, we're sorry we picked shitty this week. We hope to improve next week. But if you guys are looking to get a hold of us, you have any suggestions? Because I am open to suggestions next week, really, honestly. Hit us up on Twitter. It's at MadnessMarvel1. You can DM us. You can hit us up on the wall. Throw your new comic book day polls up there. Tag us in them, whatever. We like to interact with you guys. We got some good fans out there. We appreciate you guys and getting a little bigger every week. So shout out to everyone downloading, and we appreciate that. We did get a new iTunes review. I meant to add into the show notes. I will put that up for next week. I think that is from Alex Martin. So shout out Alex for the iTunes review. But yeah, next week we got 4 books for you guys. So we're going to get back on track with 4. I'm going to kick things off with The Amazing Spider-Man number 31. I think that wraps up all the Secret Empire nonsense. And if not, there's one more issue after that. So this might either be the final or the what's that fancy word for the next to last issue.
I have no idea.
Forgetting that now. It's too goddamn late. Our brains are fucking.
It was like 1 o'clock on the board.
Yeah. For the hero section, we're gonna tag team that son of a bitch. We're gonna do the last issue of Captain America. 25. So this is like skipping a few if you've been following Steve Rogers. But this is the book Uniting, but following the Sam Rogers numbering, isn't it?
Well, it's following
Sam Rogers,
Sam Wilson. It's following because Steve Rogers ended at 19, which was a week ending, and in the last issue of Sam Wilson was 24, but yeah, they're combining it for 25, and it's going to be the last Captain America issue until Legacy.
Yeah, and when Wade takes over the book. So Spencer's swan song on Captain America. Maybe something will happen. Let's cross our fingers for that.
I
We don't
hope
want
so.
a unanimous forget it altogether week again. We really don't. Which one you gonna do for us?
I'm going to do Inhumans once and Future Kings. I wanted to do Secret Warriors, but I figured this was too good to pass up because I've been really enjoying Christopher Priest's Deathstroke. So
Yeah.
why not try it as Inhumans?
Yeah, so this is this a throwback story or what's this the
It's
gist
the
of this Inhumans book?
it's going to be about their origin, so a new retelling of their
Okay.
origin by Priest and Phil
I'm down with
Noto.
that.
Yeah,
I
me too.
actually might be interested in this Inhumans book for once. So let's see. And then we also have our event book for you guys. We're back on track with Secret Empire 8. 3 to go. 3
Daniel
to
Acuna,
go.
Daniel Acuna is going to do that issue too, so that's a nice
The
change
art,
in art. Yeah.
yeah,
You know what I
that should
noticed?
be pleasing to the eyes.
No X-Men Blue. It's used to be bi-weekly, but
Right,
maybe not. Mm-hmm.
slowing it down a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Interesting things afoot at Marvel. We're here to bring that all for you guys, but we're signing out today. This week, Trevor's going to go watch Game of Thrones. I will
Yes.
probably pass out on a comic book on my couch and crinkle it and have to go buy a new copy tomorrow morning. So
I
that's
do
where
that.
we're headed. And we're out of here, guys. Have a good week and peace out.
Peace.